Hey Internet, this is Gunter with MiniMishaps, and the word kitbash was used first by model car makers that would use parts from different kits and put them together. It very quickly was adopted by war gamers like the Warhammer series for exchanging parts within the same game to do conversions and things to represent proxy armies of things there were official rules for. So the reason that I'm making this video is there seems to be considerably less material for kit bashing tabletop RPG miniatures, which really your limits are your imagination at that point. So I'm going to go through our top 10 philosophies or project ideas or ways that you can do kit bashing and apply them in a broad spectrum of miniatures for whatever your gaming needs are. First and easiest way to do kit bashing is simply to cut up miniatures and paste them back together. So this is no longer bashing with pieces out of a kit, but it is using already created miniatures to put new shapes together from those parts that are already, they might even already be painted, but they're forming to make a new function. And the most simple way of the cut and paste option is simply to add extra fill in the blank, extra legs, extra heads, extra tails, and then you can create a new nightmare monster for your players doing it that way. So mold casting is a little bit more complex with regards to materials, but essentially this is for if you need or wanted to replicate a shape or a face or something that you didn't want to cut off of a miniature. If you didn't want to destroy the miniature to get at that piece, mold casting is a way you use thermoset plastic or a hot glue gun that can fill a mold, and then you can get your parts that way. In this one, it's the very top part there, that head, was a mold cast of a Yeti's face that ended up just being a free loose piece of plastic with the face on it after that I could glue to my project. So the scavenger hunt or themed kit bash is one you'll see a lot for the collaboration videos that we do, where it's everybody is going to have a set of parameters, and or there's a certain occasion or holiday or fill in the blank. This one is from Kitbash, so I gotta send the idea out to those responsible. I didn't come up with the idea of Squig Day or this collaboration, but this was my contribution, and it's got one piece from a D&D miniature, pieces of toy dinosaurs, there was some bits that I sculpted with clay, there's parts of broken up chopsticks, so really this is just kind of a hodgepodge piece, but it came out that way because I knew what a squig was supposed to look like, and then it was just kind of going into the boxes and art supplies and being like, what do I have that can imitate that shape, and try and create something intentional for a theme. And I know some of you are probably thinking Monster Bash. We'll get to that. They got their own. They're so important to us and integral to our process that they'll get their own set of. They'll get their own option for projects here in a second. And so you can thank Nate's Miniatures for the Squig Day collaboration that this was sent off to almost exactly a year ago now. Next up, we've got trash bashing. This is exactly what it sounds like. So this is kind of going to be lumped in with like a dollar store kitbash, but this is essentially using things that you otherwise would be throwing away, otherwise wouldn't have a use for, otherwise would be in a box. And in this case, in this piece, I have a couple of miniatures that weren't getting any table play, but then I also have the actual like stringing that happens from a hot glue gun. I bundled it up and made it look like moss here, so that's literally garbage made into something more usable on a tabletop setting. Toy Bash is another one that can include the dollar store kit bash, but it's essentially using broken toys in the case of my 5-year-old, or any your old toys from childhood, or things if they are broken down or not useful in other projects, kit bashing them together into something new as a fun turnaround for some of those materials. Alright, so let's talk about Monster Bash. Now, Monster Bash is technically a theme challenge, but it is having its own category of a larger scale actual kit bashing event that lots of people, hundreds, maybe thousands of contributors, and their parameters are they have a deck of parts that are drawn by their artists, and this is Trent with Miscast has been the host for this, but every version of this Monster Bash, they add or create a new deck of cards. You draw, I think everybody in their official videos did 7 cards, and then you try to turn those 7 pieces of drawings into a actual piece of art. Now, the reason again that this is different is Monster Bash can be any art medium, so we as kit bashers and miniature workers only are one little facet in that. It could be a painting, it could be a larger scale sculpture, it could be something made out of clay and wire with armatures. It can really be any kind of art. So that's why also that this one it's separate, because it's part of something different and bigger, and the kit bashing miniatures is here in this case just one interpretation of how you can do that project. We have a big history with Monster Bash. For those of you that have been with us from the beginning, you know that our first Monster Bash contribution was one of our very first big collaboration projects. It was one of our first projects that did well on the channel, and behind the scenes, the 4 originators of that event were all very supportive and helpful to me when I was starting the channel personally, to stick with it and to keep making stuff through when things weren't as easy. On to sculpting bits. So this is where you're kit bashing. You've got an idea of what you want, you've got some parts, or you're building your idea around a certain part or around a certain end goal, and you simply can't find the bits that you're looking for. So now it's time to get out some Sculpey, get out some clay, get out some green stuff, and make the bits that you want. This is a little bit more freeform, a little bit can be frustrating if you're not used to the sculpting art side of things or the tools involved. But if you just need a head or a foot or a shield, and in the case of the image here, this was our first Monster Bash piece, so very, very early on in the channel. But I had these beads that could be the eggs. I had this cheap toy finger puppet dinosaur that could be the arms. I had the plastic covered thread that could be the vines and things, but I had nothing that looked remotely at like the cards that I had for that Monster Bash project with regards to like the head and the body and that stuff. So I pretty much just pinched a bit of clay into a rough shape of a bird head and then painted it like you see here. But really that sculpting can be as basic or intricate as you care to make it. Another answer to not having the bits that you want is 3D printing, and that comes with a different set of issues, mainly that you have to get a hold of a 3D printer. Now, we are lucky enough where I am that the public library has a makerspace with a 3D printer in it, so that does a lot of the 3D printing for projects you see on the channel. And we also work with our local game store where I run RPG games, and they have a 3D printer as well. So here you see I've taken, and this is again sort of just a rework of the cut and paste, except that all of these weapons are 3D printed and then glued to the corresponding bunny here in this case. So as far as philosophies go, this is a little bit on the outskirts of still being kit bashing. Some folks probably won't consider this kit bashing, but we included it because it's relevant to miniature making, and that's putting a base and doing a paint conversion. So kit bashing with paint really conceptually is good for developing your eye when you're looking at your art supplies for what can I use that's going to look like a hand, that's going to look like a face, that's going to look like a piece of clothing or a piece of armor. And so doing the base where it's a little miniature diorama, really here, this is a Happy Meal toy, so we have multiple medium kit bash versions here, but it's a Happy Meal toy that is painted in a theme that is non-traditional. So this is Zombie Captain America, but I have used like a button, I think, for the manhole cover and parts of zombies for the rest of the parts of zombies that are already in the street. But this kit bashing accomplished not only the little diorama of the street cover and the zombies, but this miniature, this toy, wouldn't stand on its own by itself without a base. So putting this base also gave Captain America the ability to stand up and be on a tabletop and not just topple over that way. So you really can make something completely new by changing the paint and the base, along with your other tools that you've been working on in this video. Alright, we're at the last one, which is our iconic random kit basherizer box that we made. And this is only one that's possible if you have bits, if you already have miniatures that, can be destroyed, can be clipped, can be used for this kind of project. But then you end up rolling the dice, and the dice tell you what to use for the torso, what to use for the arms, what to use for the heads, and you can be as restrictive or as creative or give yourself as many options at each number as you want to, but you end up with the sort of mentality of do the best you can with the things that you're challenged to make into a thing. So we ended up with these cool, the little guy with the big skull mask and a goblin riding a sheep and a death knight in gold riding a blue goat. So you really can create something beyond your imagination by using random dice rolls that way. Positive thought, this was so much fun to look back and be like, we made these things, and we use a tons of different mediums, we use a ton of different theories, art supplies and skills and things that we've learned over the last year and a half of having a channel. And some of these are our favorite projects from all of the time we've been a channel. We love doing the Monster Bash and Squig Day projects. We love doing the themes and conversions and collaborating, working with other channels. And yeah, the Kitbash projects are near and dear to our channel here. Alright, now we aren't officially sponsored by any of the groups or events that we listed here, but we definitely want to have you go and support and check them out. So if you search for Monster Bash, you'll find it. There's a lot. Check out Miscast, Rack's Art, those guys, and Nate's Miniatures. They all have, you know, the random challenges. We got that idea from Goobertown Hobbies. When we applied it, he does the paint challenges. We applied it to the kitbashing, and just really go check those guys out, because even though there's not a ton for tabletop miniature do-it-yourself kitbashing, there is a ton for kitbashing, painting, miniature work, and a lot of really incredible art out there to take in as well. So this kind of is not really a philosophy, but another reason, another benefit, another silver lining of doing kitbashing is that when you have a role-playing game, and even especially a homebrew game, you can now make miniatures custom. You can build them out. You can make as many as you want or you need, and you can just improve your tabletop game even more so. This was a pretty long video. You guys survived me. I appreciate you checking it out. This is one of my first top 10 lists where I felt like I actually was had enough to offer in the subject to fill out a top 10 list like this. So if you like this kind of video, let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and thanks for stopping in. Thanks, Internet. I don't have a specific project for the next one. I've got lots of projects that are kind of in process, but I know I said today was supposed to be a painting project. It's coming there soon. In the next couple of projects for sure. There will be painting projects coming, so watch for that.